You can't be the way you used to be. If you continue to do what you've always done, you will continue to get what you've always got. Something has to change. You have to do things differently than the way you've been doing things. You have to drive down a different street. You have to get to bed at a different time. You have to eat different food. You have to talk to different people. Now, this is important. You have to talk to different people than you normally talk to. Those bad habits you have, those bad addictions, those bad obsessions. Because there can be good habits, good addictions, and good obsessions. You could be addicted to having successful moments in your life. That can be an addiction, and there are all sorts of hormones involved with that. A magnificent obsession with meeting a certain goal. That is a good obsession. The type of obsession that gets you to where you want to be. But when people form bad habits, addictions, and obsessions, the world around them has to. It must adjust to those weaknesses. The next thing you know, you find yourself in places where you don't want to be, with a bunch of people you don't want to be with. You need to start telling yourself no. You have this energy, right? And when you give something or someone your attention, you are giving energy. You are tuning into it, right? But make no mistake, whatever that thing is, you better monitor how that thing makes you feel. How many times have you sat in front of a film, something that you knew would probably give you nightmares, but you watched it anyway? And it ended up disturbing you. Then later on, you come across another film just like that one. Maybe it was a sequel to the first one. Now, why would you want to sit down and endure those feelings for an hour and a half, 2 hours, with some lingering feelings afterward? You know what it's going to do to you? You have to tell yourself no. This applies to many different things, including people, especially people. You know, how many times in your life have you heard people say, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover? No, I disagree. I believe you respect people, but you absolutely must recognize that which you already know. Some people may believe it to be hypocritical, but it is a paradox. There's a verse from Matthew chapter 7 out of the Bible that I think many of you may have heard. And I want you to listen to this and absorb it. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit, you will recognize them. While thinking about how you may want to go out into the world and achieve those goals and dreams with the minimum number of inconveniences, hang-ups, and blockages. Sometimes getting there involves a little more than a talk or being aware or being conscious of what you are doing out there. You also want to train yourself, train your mind, really. And so I want to open up an option for those who want an advantage of maneuvering through life on our way to pursuing whatever objective. How many of you have heard of NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming? So here's what you need to know. This was developed some years ago in the 1970s at the University of California, Santa Cruz, by several people. The idea here is, if you find a person that can accomplish a goal, then there must be some way to mimic this person enough to accomplish the same goal. Everyone that is successful usually has a roadmap to get them where they want to be. NLP is designed to use that same map to ensure you reach the same destination. Now, there are many components to NLP, but once you use it, you have to be ready for it to work. Because you can't be caught off guard once you start to apply this technology. It's not hocus pocus or have anything to do with spirits. It's psychological self-training. That's what the law of attraction is. It's training your brain to think correctly. That is basically what all this stuff comes down to. Because when you begin to bring issues into your life, that is you not thinking correctly. So you have to retrain your brain to think differently. Sometimes you have to change things outside of your thoughts so that you won't be influenced by certain things. You don't want to relapse or be tempted by something that is going to weaken your drive or create fear and doubt. Let me give you some examples of techniques used in NLP, just to give you an idea of what this is all about. There is a technique called dissociation. In other words, what you do is you identify emotions that you want to get rid of, that are holding you back. You imagine having that emotion. While you are having that emotion, you imagine leaving your body. And you imagine being outside of your body, watching yourself go through that emotion. And then you leave your body again, so that now you can watch yourself watching yourself go through that emotion. And the idea is you are distancing yourself from that emotion when you practice this technique. Reframing is an NLP technique, but you may already use this one if you are aware of it. And basically what you do is you take an emotion like anxiety. Like, let's say you are going in for a job interview. And I've been there so many times, anxious, nervous, and in most cases like this, all you have to do is reframe that emotion. And instead of thinking of anxiety, think of it as excitement. You are excited for the opportunity or knowing that you will get hired. Here is another NLP technique that you may have heard about. It's called a swish. Actually, there's a funny story about Tony Robbins. You guys know Tony Robbins, right? Anyway, as a coach to help people quit smoking, he would take them to a hotel room and make them smoke cigarettes. Smoke cigarette after cigarette until they got tired of it. And then he would yell at them to scare them into smoking more. Can you imagine having that guy in your room alone with you, yelling at you to smoke? The idea is he wanted to associate the habit and movement of putting the cigarette to the mouth with disgust and fear. Fear and phobias, this is big with NLP. I keep telling people this. If you can eliminate fears, you gain superpowers that not many people have. Now, we don't do things that are dangerous to conquer our fears. You don't want to walk up to a bear and slap it in the face just because you want to conquer your fear of bears. That's just stupid. You don't want to walk a tightrope between two mountains because you want to conquer your fear of heights. The wind blows hard, you're dead. That's just foolish. That's not fear, that's physics. What I am talking about is fearing things you have no business fearing. And so when that happens, that should be an indicator that you need to somehow wipe that fear away, so you don't have to deal with that problem going into interviews. I've been recently discussing tapping. That is a science developed by a doctor of psychology, not a spiritual guru. I share these technologies with you guys to give you something that you can apply to see a certain result. It's like the law of attraction. Some people think it's a new age spiritualism tool. No, it just happens to attract new age spiritualists, because that is what new age spiritualists are into. Living a blessed life, really. It only becomes evil when you involve actual spirits, or are in a practice that would be physically, emotionally, or mentally unhealthy. You hear it all the time, right? Put it in God's hands. If it's God's will, then so be it. Give your life to God or Jesus Christ, right? That's what you hear. But what does that mean? It means you must trust in what God has in store for you? What does that mean? What does He have in store for me? Nothing, unless you start breaking the chains that hold you down. I'm glad you could join me today for a little time out to chat about life. There is more to come, more madness to get you guys updated on. Be sure to visit woodwardentertainment.com and the Woodward Entertainment Store. You can follow me on Instagram at jwoodward. Some things for you to consider this evening as you stay awake, stay aware, and stay safe. And I'll talk to you all soon.